Hey, what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with another top 10 video. And this one, we are going to do the top 10 games released on the, released on the Nintendo system, both the 3DS and the Nintendo Switch. And if you missed out on my other top 10, which was based off the PS4, I'll have a link in the description. You can check that out as well. 2017, I will admit, was definitely a comeback year for Nintendo for lots of reasons. The Wii U was not certainly doing very well, and they really needed to hit it out with the Switch. And the Switch definitely hit it out with a lot of really good games that came out as well. And the 3DS also got some love as well in 2017 as well. Although it's unclear what the future of the 3DS is going to be, although I feel that at some point it's going to retire though. The Switch, however, it got off to probably the best start for 2017, and we'll have to wait to see what 2018 is. But until then, in the meantime, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 games released on the Nintendo system. And I do want to stress, keep in mind, these are my opinion and my opinion alone. I'm aware not everyone is going to agree with my opinion, however, but these are the games I picked that I thought were the top 10. But before we get started on that one, why don't we start off first with our honorable mentions on games that didn't make it to the top 10, but I think are still good and still worth checking out though. We'll start off with the first one, and that is Puyo Puyo Tetris though. This definitely was a fun game indeed. It basically brings the classic Tetris series along with the Puyo Puyo games though, which while Tetris is recognizable, Puyo Puyo doesn't have like a huge market or a huge audience as the way Tetris is, but it's still a very fun game. Both of them are fun though. Visually, the graphics looks nice, but nothing special. Story's a little bit silly in it, but the gameplay is still addictive and fun. And surprisingly, the game did sell very well. According to Sega, it sold about 1 million copies, at least from what I understand, which, if that was what they were aiming for, good. We'd like to see more support from Sega, and hopefully maybe we'll see more Puyo Puyo or Tetris or a mixture of both of them in a sequel or something like that. But either way, Puyo Puyo Tetris was a good game. The next one, and this one was available on the PS4. I did a review on that. I believe I'll have a link in the description though. I did a review about that one, but I also had gameplay of the Switch version, and that is Fate Exhala, if I'm saying the name correctly, the Umbra Star though. I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard much about the Fate series, or never really watched it though. I really should give that a try, however. But I did enjoy the game when it came out both on the PS4, and I recently enjoyed the Switch version, as it plays similar to, the warrior games, the hack and slash type of games, which may or may not appeal to everybody though, but it is still a fun and enjoyable hack and slash. And for a licensed game that bases off of anime, it's not a bad one though. And surprisingly, it did well on the Switch as well, so that's pretty good indeed. So Faith Exhala, if I'm saying the name correctly, if I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. Definitely a good hack and slash warrior type game if you're into those type of games though. The next one is going to be Lego City Undercover though. I'm aware not everyone is a big fan of Lego games. They can be a hit and miss. Some people think they get a bit repetitive, and I will admit that the Lego series has its share of criticisms. But at the very least, I felt Lego City Undercover, in my opinion, is one of the best Lego games out there right now. With the fact that it's not only a single-player game, it has a sort of Grand Theft Auto vibe to it, mostly dubbed down to, for kids and family though. And even though it is a kids game, there's enough stuff in there that adults can appreciate, considering now this one pays homages to ranging from cop TV shows and movies, from like Dragnet, Columbo, Starsky and Hutch, Miami Vice, to even absurd like movies like The Matrix that they throw in there, references to that, to the Shawshank Redemption as well. So there's enough in there that adults can enjoy, but it's even though it's a kids game, it's enough that adults can enjoy though. Either way, as far as a Lego game goes, Lego City Undercover, in my opinion, remains the best Lego game out there. The next one on this list, though, and again, some people will disagree with me on this one, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe though. Although I still think this Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart Wii are my favorite entries, mostly because I like some of the courses they have in those ones, particularly Bowser's Castle from the N64. Love the soundtrack on that one, though. It is still definitely a fun game. The kart racing series has evolved over the years with basically some new characters, and this one has all the DLCs, including the brand new Splatoon characters they put in, to even finally a multiplayer mode, something that was lacking in the Wii U version. So we finally got a true multiplayer game though. So overall, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the definitive version, still like it. I still enjoy the N64 and the Wii version, but I definitely still enjoy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So that one's definitely good. The next one is Disgaea 5. Complete for the Nintendo Switch though. This was a port of a game that was released on the PS4. I've tried a bit of the series, has gone back and forth with it though, but I will say it is a strategy RPG. It is very fun. It's also very silly with some of the humor and all that stuff, mostly fan service and all. But I definitely like the anime art style. I definitely enjoy the gameplay as well. And it's pretty nice that NIS America supported this game and brought it over to the Switch. Obviously, it sold well, and obviously they are going to continue to support the Switch going forward, so that's definitely good. It'll be interesting to see when the remake of the first Disgaea game, if that comes to the Switch. I believe it will. But overall, Disgaea 5, complete fun game. It's a complete edition, though, and it's the type of game where, like with the Switch, you could play it on the go, take it at home, however you want to play it, though. It has tons of content to keep you busy, so Disgaea 5 complete definitely deserves an honorable mention. The next one on the list is the 3DS Fire Emblem Echoes though. Now, this one is considered sort of like the black sheep of the family. It's not in a way the traditional Fire Emblem, as it takes a different course in terms of exploration in some areas, but it still follows a bit of the tried and true formula that Fire Emblem is known for. I will say, if there is a criticism to Fire Emblem Echoes, it's the Season Pass, which is basically charging $40 for it. Now, to be fair, I will say, at least as far as DLCs go, Nintendo has been, for the most part, been pretty generous of it though, and I'm sure there were a lot of content in the Season Pass. Still, I can understand why some people may be upset to be paying $40 for a season pass when most 3DS games, not all of them, but most of them, cost like around $39.99. Combined with the $40 season pass, you end up spending $80 in general for one game. So I can see why some people would be upset with that, but overall, it's still a fun game. Looking forward to seeing what Fire Emblem on the Switch is going to be whenever they officially announce it, but overall, Fire Emblem Echoes on that list for honorable mention. The next one on the list is Splatoon 2, though. Now, I'll admit I'm not a huge multiplayer kind of a person, but I will give credit to the fact that Splatoon 2 is definitely still a fun game. I like the idea it takes the shooter genre into a different direction, though, compared to what past shooter games are. I'm glad they have a single-player campaign into it, though. And of course, it's definitely a fun game. I do have some issues with the fact that when you take it in porter mode, unless you're online, you're not going to be able to use any of the other modes except for the single player, which is fine. Hold on one second, guys. Alright, folks, I apologize a little bit earlier, though. Unfortunately, when my phone went off, I had to go help someone out, though. I had to go pick them up, or drop them off at some place, to pick up their car and all that stuff when I got lunch and all that stuff. So I apologize for a bit of that on that pause a little bit right there. So but you know what, stuff happens, all that stuff, yada yada. But anyway, as far as Splatoon 2 goes, it's still a good game, nevertheless. It's still fun, though. It doesn't have the same kind of, to me, or at least the wow factor when the first one came out. It was just a fresh new concept and all that stuff. Nevertheless, Splatoon 2 is definitely a fun game. Let me get my notes out right here. It's definitely a fun game though, and it is worth a play if you've never played before, or if you've played the first one, you'll probably like the second one indeed. So overall, Splatoon 2 is a fun game. The next one on the list is Rayman Legends, the Definitive Edition. So let's see. Okay, yeah. This one right here. You know what? I enjoyed the Rayman games though. Both Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. They were fun 2D games. Love the art style in it as well though. Rayman Legends went through several issues when people were upset about when the Wii U version got delayed to release on the PS4 and Xbox One. But eventually the game came out and people enjoyed it though. And this re-release on the Switch though basically is all the versions from like all the DLCs and everything to basically the touchscreen controls from the Wii U version. Unfortunately, you'll have to play the game in portable mode in order to use that, which seems pretty obvious. But overall, it is a fun 2D game. If you're into those 2D games, it's worth a try on that one. So basically, I would say Rayman Legends definitely worth a try though. The next one on the list is finally, and this one might be controversial to some people, and that is Sonic Mania. Or Sonic Force though. My bad. Sonic Force though. Okay, I know the game has gotten a lot of flank and all, and people pretty much hate that title and pretty much think it's like the worst game or worst Sonic game. To me, it's not necessarily that bad of a game. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Sonic Mania it certainly is the better game than Sonic Forces is, but as far as 3D Sonic games, it's not bad. I mean, it plays fine. It was developed by the same people who did Sonic Colors, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. So, to me, I feel this is a case of the internet sort of blowing something way out of proportion. I'm not saying that the game doesn't deserve its share of criticism. I just don't think it's as terrible as people are making it out to be, though. Although I will admit, though, that Sonic Mania is probably the better game, though. I will admit with that. But Sonic Forces, to me, is, as far as a 3D Sonic game goes, it's one of the good ones, though. And I still stand behind that. Alright, the next one I want to talk about is the Resident Evil Collection, or Revelation Collection, though. Last year, we saw sort of Resident Evil try to get back on the limelight after what happened with Resident Evil 6, with Resident Evil 7, and now they have decided to re-release both Resident Evil Revelations collection, both on Xbox One, PS4, and now the Nintendo Switch. And the game is still fun, though, even though it may not be as good as, say, 4 was, or at the very least Resident Evil 7. It still holds up well. It still has that whole cheesy acting and all that stuff, and gameplay is still fun. It takes the third-person perspective. Between the two games, I have to say, Resident Evil Revelation 2, you get more of a Resident Evil, Revelation 2, you get more of the classic Resident Evil or Resident Evil 2 vibe to it, more than I could say with the first Revelations, although the first game runs at 60 frames per second, while the second one runs in 30 frames per second. This obviously has to do with the Switch version as well, but they are still good Resident Evil games. Not great like 4 or to some degree 7, but they're definitely one of the good Resident Evil games and are worth trying out. And last but not least, though, I don't have physical copies of these, but these are digital downloads, and that is both Yooka-Laylee, Sonic Mania, and the Mummy Demastered, though. Yooka-Laylee, despite all the troubles that game has gone through, I enjoyed it. Though it is a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. I'm not saying it's going to dethrone Mario Odyssey, but it is definitely still a fun game, nevertheless. Sonic Mania is a throwback to the classic Sonic games from the Sega Genesis days as well, and that game is still fun. If you haven't played it out, it's worth trying out. Although there is a little issue with the Switch version where there's some sort of delay every time you hit the home button. I'm not sure if they fixed that or not. Hopefully they have as well. And last but not least, the Mummy Demastered, which in the most oddest way possible, you have a game based off of a license off of the horrible 2017 Mummy movie, and yet that does better than the movie did. So it's pretty amazing on that one, though. But from a gameplay perspective, it's quite fun. It's like a Metroidvania kind of meets Dark Souls kind of a way, which might turn some people off or not. But overall, as a licensed game, that is very good indeed. Alright, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get through our top 10, and we're going to go through 10 through 5. So take a bit of a break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back, and now that we've gone through our honorable mentions, we are now going to get down to our top 10 games released on a Nintendo system throughout 2017, or at least my pick, though, as well. And for this first part of it, though, or second part, actually, we're going to do 10 through 5. So why don't we get started, and we'll start off with number 10, and my number 10 game goes to Elder Scrolls Skyrim, though. Let's be honest, this game gets re-released no matter what. It's pretty much been released on almost everything. Well, mostly everything, though. Originally released back in 2011 for the 360 and PS3. It was later remade for the PS4 and Xbox One. Also brought to the PC. And seeing it on the Nintendo Switch was kind of interesting, but not surprising. Though, considering I thought that would probably be the only game Bethesda would have brought, although that proved to be otherwise not true, sort of. I'll get to that soon, though, to their other game as well. But Skyrim, of course, is a very fun open world style of a game, especially for those who enjoyed games like Fallout 4 as well. And you can see where some of the ideas for Skyrim was inspired into The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. As far as the game goes, it runs pretty well. You get all the DLCs and content. It looks good. Obviously, it's a port of a 2011 game. It's not going to look as good, or say like what 2016's release as well, but it definitely looks better. Looks way better than what the older versions do. Plus, the idea to bring it on the go and at home, though, definitely is a plus, though. Plus, you also get a lot of the Legend of Zelda stuff in there as well. Whether they're useful or not, that's entirely up to you. But overall, Skyrim is number 10 on my list. Only a matter of time when we hear Skyrim come to the PS5 or something like that. Let's be honest, it's going to happen at some point. Alright, at number 10, at number 9, we are going with LA Noire for the Nintendo Switch, though. I remember playing this back in 2011 when it came out, though, and it was a very interesting game at the time. It was basically a third-person shooter taking place during the Los Angeles in the 1940s. So it definitely had that look and feel to it, though. It was definitely a fun game. So this being Rockstar's first game on the Nintendo Switch is kind of interesting, though. I mean, there were rumors back and forth of whether this game was coming, all that stuff. Some people dismissed it until it turned out to be true after all. And it will be very interesting to see how Rockstar is going to support, whether or not they continue to support the Nintendo Switch. There are rumors about GTA 5, and I think it's possible GTA 5 could run on it on the Nintendo Switch, which depending on how well they optimize it, so on. But overall, LA Noire is a fun game. The controls good, and the story is really good. The whole 1940s Los Angeles look to it, though. So number 9 on my list goes to LA Noire. 10, 9, and number 8, though, is the other Bethesda game, Doom. This surprised me a lot. Out of all the games on my list, Doom is probably the only one that surprised me the most, because I did not think this game was going to come to the Nintendo Switch. I seriously did not. It was wishful thinking. I wouldn't mind if it did come, but I did not know if they could pull it off. And when I saw one of the trailers at one of the Nintendo Directs, my mouth literally dropped. I thought, oh my god, they actually were able to port this over. Now, granted, after everything set it in, it's obviously clear it's not the best version, and depending on your point of view. Obviously, it's not running at 1080p 60 frames per second like the PS4, Xbox One, or PC. I mean, it runs at 720p 30 frames per second, which, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not the version that's going to appeal to everyone. But the fact that I could bring this with me on the go, Doom 2016, on my Nintendo Switch without having to like see if I have a PC computer or a laptop to see if it could even run it, it's just amazing on so many levels. And I got to applaud Panic Button for really putting a lot of time and effort into the Switch version of Doom and trying to do the best they could. To me, it's not a half-ass port, but it probably won't be the version for everyone, but still, it is definitely a good game, especially on the Switch, and it deserves to be at number 8, at least in my opinion, though. Alright, let's see. 10, 9, 8. Alright, now let's go to number 7, which is ARMS, though. This is the new IP from Nintendo, and I have to say, ARMS is actually a surprisingly fun IP. The gameplay is very easily pick up and play. Visually, the game looks good. I believe it runs at 1080p 60 frames per second when docked, although I wouldn't be surprised if it runs at 900p. I could be wrong on the 1080p part. To 720p 60 frames per second, though. I mean, I do enjoy the cast of characters. It's a very easy game to play. I know some people, they advertise using the motion controls in it, but I just use the traditional Pro Controller, and I haven't had any problems with the game, though. My only issue is that I do wish they added a story mode into the game. I really would have liked to see more about the history of these characters and so on. But the gameplay is solid. It's still fun, and like Splatoon 2, it has received free content update with some new characters, new levels, and so on. So it's definitely, they're putting time and effort into it. But overall, ARMS is definitely a good game at number 7, and it's definitely a new IP, which I appreciate Nintendo putting something out, something new as well. So number 7 goes to ARMS on this one, though. So definitely try it out, though. Alright, we're going to go to number 6, and this one's for the Nintendo 3DS. And I have to say, number 6 goes to Metroid: Samus Returns. The Metroid series has sort of had a rough times over the years, though. After the release of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, we had Metroid Other M that came out. That was from Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, and although I didn't hate that game as much as some people did, it obviously didn't sit well with a lot of people. Federation Force, on the other hand, got even worse because many people did not like the direction they were going with that and the art style and so on. Not to mention Nintendo supposedly disabled the likes and dislike, which it makes the situation even worse than it is. So basically, the decision to see Metroid return onto the 3DS again was met with some good reception when this game was announced, though. Developed by Mercury System, that has done, I think, the Castlevania game on the 3DS, which was pretty good. It's basically a remake of the 1992 Metroid 2 Return of Samus for the original Game Boy, and it offers some interesting new gameplay, such as the ability to now sort of like, I think you could stand still and sort of have Samus aim her gun all over the place. But overall, it looks great. It plays very well. The visuals look nice. I will say my one big criticism is the idea of moving Samus in a 2D environment using the analog or the 3D stick on your Nintendo 3DS. I still find it a little bit odd. I still would have preferred to use the D-pad, though. But overall, still a fun game, nevertheless, and it's number 6 on my list. Alright, back to the Switch now. We're going to go to number 5, and that would be Fire Emblem Warriors for the Nintendo Switch, also on the 3DS as well, though. I often like to refer to these as Nintendo Warriors games, warrior games that use Nintendo characters. The first one, Hyrule Warriors, which is now getting another re-release on the Nintendo Switch, though, was considered a fan favorite, and I remember playing that game and enjoying that one. And while I'm not a huge Fire Emblem Warrior fan, though, I definitely like this game as much, and I think it kind of kind of beats Hyrule Warriors just a little bit, though. Okay, story didn't really interest me as much. I'm not a huge Fire Emblem fan more than I am with the Zelda series, though. Some of the cutscenes are, okay, but they're not annoying, but they just don't interest me. But it does follow, and while it does follow the tried and true formula that the Warriors games are known for, the added addition of the weapons triangle from the Fire Emblem series and the ability to send characters to tackle other opponents, though, more than makes up for it, though. It definitely takes those elements of it and combines it with the Fire Emblem series. Plus, you also got, with the Warrior series, plus you also have the graphical option to choose between. You could choose between getting 1080p, 30 frames per second, or you could go for a downgrade to 720p running at 60 frames per second. Mostly available when docked, though. And I like that it had that option, even though technically I would love to see a 1080p 60 frames per second. But overall, it's definitely a fun game, though. I definitely like the idea of adding elements from Fire Emblem into the Warrior series, though. It will be interesting to see what other Warrior games or Nintendo Warrior games, if Koei Tecmo and Nintendo team up again. Maybe they'll do one on Donkey Kong, maybe they'll do one on Mario, maybe they'll do one on Xenoblade. But overall, number 5 on this one goes to Fire Emblem Warriors, though. It's definitely a fun game, and it's worth trying out, especially if you're a Warriors fan or like Hyrule Warriors, indeed. Okay, we're going to take a bit of a break, and when we come back, we're going to get to the final part from 4 to 1. So take a bit of a break, and we will be right back. Alright, and we are back with our third and final part of this top 10 video of games that I liked on the Nintendo system, both the 3DS and the Switch of 2017. And now we're going to get down to our final part, which is 4 to 1. So why don't we start with number 4 on our list, and the fourth one has to go to Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, though. Now, this game right here, there are so many reasons this game should have failed. The whole thing with the Rabbids, though, has been, up to this point, they've been only known for just mini-games. mini-games, and that's pretty much it. Outside of maybe Rabbids Go Home, at this point, they've been reduced to that, and not a lot of people enjoyed the Rabbids in any way. So when this was announced, or when it was rumored, people started to think that this game was going to be bad and everything, and so on. Yet, surprisingly, it turned out to be good. In the most strangest way possible, Ubisoft, teaming up with Nintendo, managed to make a Rabbids game starring the Rabbids and make it actually look good. The gameplay follows similar to sort of XCOM, which is a turn-based RPG, though. The idea of seeing Mario with a gun just seems a little weird, but at the same time, it's like a gun that looks like something that Mega Man has, but it actually it plays well. I mean, the story itself is silly, but actually very funny at the same time, including Fanta Rabbit, who's known to breaking the fourth wall and pretty much going after Mario and so on. But it just amazes me that this game should have failed. It should have, and at the end, it did not. It did very well, and it became surprisingly, it finally had the Rabbids do something that's not a minigame collection. And of course, we have the upcoming story DLC, which is starring Donkey Kong, which is definitely going to be interesting to see. But overall, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is number 4 on my list. It proved to be a surprisingly fun game and a surprisingly fun tactical RPG type of a game. Alright, the next one, number 3 on my list, and this one was kind of controversial because I was kind of debating whether this should be number 3 or number 2. But in the end, I decided to make it number 3. I know not everyone will agree with me on this, but that's where I stand. So, number 3 on my list goes to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, though. The Xenoblade Chronicles series is known to be sort of a niche title in a way, though. Originally released near the end of the Wii's life cycle, we then later got a somewhat of a sequel, but a new entry, Xenoblade Chronicle X, onto the Wii U, and now we have a brand new one that was released during the first year of the Nintendo Switch, and it proved to be a very fun game following similar gameplay mechanics as past Xenoblade Chronicles game, and going for a different art style, which is kind of debatable for some people, sort of going with a anime look and so on. I will admit the one big criticism the game does have is when playing in portable mode, the resolution kind of takes a hit compared to when playing in dock mode, in which it runs, I believe, supposedly at 720p. But other than that, the world of the game looks vast and great. The art style looks good, especially with the anime art style. The story is interesting, and the combat, which follows similar to past Xenoblade Chronicles games, is still fun with some new stuff as well. But overall, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is number 3 on my list, and is definitely a fun RPG though, and hopefully if the game sold well, which I believe it did, hopefully we'll see more entries in the Xenoblade Chronicles series down the road. Or in the meantime, I would be open to see a port of Xenoblade Chronicles X come to the Switch. I mean, you're bringing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, why not bring that game over? Okay, and number 2 is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, though. This game was kind of interesting because it basically changes the formula around to what the past Zelda games are. This one goes into more of an open world route this time, where you could really go in any direction you want to go. I mean, you could technically go straight towards the final boss, go to take on Calamity Ganon. Chances are you'll probably lose, but hey, you want to do that, you could do that though. But what's amazing though is that this title, like I said with Skyrim, it borrows certain elements from that. It's, like I said, it's definitely open world. You can approach every situation however you want to approach it though. Visually speaking, the game looks nice, and I like that direction that they went with it though. The one criticism I will have is sort of looking back at it now, the weapons durability. While not as annoying to me, there are some people who had issues with the whole weapons durability, saying that your weapon will break very easily. Kind of, depending on how well you handle the situation though. But overall, I have to say, Breath of the Wild, to me, it's the second best Zelda game out there. I still think Majora's Mask is my personal favorite, but overall, definitely a good game. Great to have as a launch title. It obviously helped though, and I rank it at number 2 on my list. And finally, last but not least, at number 1 though, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be expecting this. Yep, Super Mario Odyssey, right out of the gate. For me though, Mario, the most iconic video game character of all time. His first entry into the Nintendo Switch is surprisingly a good one though. I love a lot of the levels. I think the Sand Kingdom and the Metro Kingdom are my favorite. They do change a bit of the gameplay. Now you don't have lives anymore. Although if you do die, you lose some coins though, and those coins come in handy from buying costumes to hearts to increase your meter and your health meter, to getting the moons, which are basically replaces the stars in the game in a way. It basically, to me, Super Mario Odyssey is a love letter to 3D Mario games like Mario 64, Mario Galaxy, and Mario Sunshine, and even to some degree Super Mario 3D World, which was an okay game, not terrible, but I still preferred Galaxy better though. But overall, I really enjoy this game. This is probably, visually it looks good, it plays well. The new caps, using the Cappy is very interesting, especially where you could possess certain items and enemies, and that just adds an interesting aspect to the gameplay though. So overall, Super Mario Odyssey to me is my number 1 game my number 1 Nintendo game of 2017, and it's definitely one you should have to your Switch library though. Okay, this concludes this top 10 Nintendo games of 2017. And again, these are my opinion or my list. What are yours? Do you agree with what I said on this list? Do you disagree, though? Do you think there are games that should have been added onto this list, or do you think there should have been games that should have been taken off? Do you have a difference of opinion? Do you have your own top 10 lists or so on? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. I hope you hit that like button. I will appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or through Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!